over 90% of people coming to our clinic looking for clarity, support, guidance, and actually a solution, 90%, in fact more than that, are suffering from unwanted, unexplained hormonal weight gain. And this is super frustrating because there is very little data or clear guidance around it. In this video, probably for the first time ever, I'm going to explain exactly what's happening and how you can take clear action, a sequence of strategic steps to actually unlock this riddle and free yourself from any unwanted hormonal weight gain. Now, the issue is to date that it's been treated as purely a hormonal problem, but that's actually not the full picture. In fact, if we were to break it down, there's three confounding factors, all of which are acting together like a gang, making this far worse than it needs to be. The first one is obviously hormonal balance or lack thereof. And I'm going to jump into each of these three factors in a moment. So please keep watching because this is really going to be very useful. It's designed to be of service. The next is inappropriate inflammation. Why inappropriate? Well, inflammation is your friend. You need it to keep you alive. You need it to actually help repair things if you fall over and bump your elbow. What you don't need is inflammation that is unchecked and rampant throughout the body, creating waves of inflammation that actually destabilizes your hormonal balance yet more. And the third factor, which is a real game changer, is stress. And by this, I don't just mean mental, emotional stress, albeit there is a lot of that involved in perimenopause and menopause. I also mean physical, food, environmental, and even sleep, because this also significantly contributes to hormonal imbalance, whilst also raising cortisol. Now, cortisol, like inflammation, is your friend. It's there to keep you alive. It's there to keep you alert. But inappropriate levels of cortisol contribute to fat loss. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how all of these three things act together and how, for instance, something like intermittent fasting could actually be making you gain more weight. So let's unpack each one in turn. So an absolute key part of this is appreciating that perimenopause is entirely different to menopause. The only thing that's the same is the fact that it has the word menopause in it. It couldn't be more different, and I'll show you exactly why. Let's just assume this is pre-perimenopause, and on the left here we have estrogen, and on the right we have progesterone. I'm not going to put testosterone into this to make this a little bit clearer, but we will be covering testosterone. So this is pre-perimenopause, let's say early 30s. What happens in perimenopause is there are sudden violent and quite volatile changes to your levels. Typically, and I would say in 9 out of 10 cases, what happens is, and we'll do this in a different color, is that whilst estrogen may remain the same for quite some time, the progesterone can drop significantly. Progesterone drops significantly faster and lower than estrogen. So what's the big deal around that? This is what's called a temporary estrogen dominance. And the problem with that is a fewfold. Firstly, when estrogen is unopposed by progesterone, it can create rapid weight gain. The next part is this leads to huge sleep disturbances because progesterone is needed in more or less equal amounts to estrogen for you to enjoy a really refreshing night's sleep. So rapid weight gain, decrease in quality of sleep. The next part is that estrogen, when unopposed, can actually increase anxiety and depression. It can also, as part of this rapid weight gain, lead to an increase in visceral fat. Now, all of our clients are understandably very disappointed and angry with this, and they want to do something about it. And most of them are super proactive and they're actually really well versed in the health field. So what happens is they employ something like intermittent fasting, HIIT, cold water exposure, calorie restriction, and all of these other very powerful, well-intentioned tools. If we imagine this is your cortisol, this is level, and this is hours during the day. Let's assume this is 6 o'clock in the morning when you normally wake. Your cortisol should peak shortly after waking up, stabilize, and gently come down towards the evening. And the reason for this is you need to be alert and focused during the day to get everything that you need to do. Meanwhile, melatonin is going to slowly increase and allow you to have a wonderful night's sleep. But what we see with people who are intermittent fasting, and this is specific to the female body, and it's really important because a lot of the proponents out there proposing intermittent fasting are males. Our bodies are entirely different to females. Our hormone expression has nothing in common except some of the same hormones. What happens here is when you don't eat within 45 minutes of waking up, this cortisol continues to rise. And it rises, and this is intermittent fasting, and it rises, and then ultimately it crashes, leaving you feeling super drained for the rest of the day and unable to actually get anything done that you want to do. You may even go to the gym during this period. You may even actually indulge in some high intensity interval training because we've all been told it's absolutely amazing. And what this looks like is this cortisol looks even higher and crashes even lower. Or if you've been doing it for over 6 months, your cortisol might be barely functioning at all, and it's showing up something like this. I know this and I see this on a daily basis. Why? Because we use the Dutch test to work out exactly where you are in your hormonal balances, exactly to understand how your body is breaking down these hormonal balances, and exactly to see what's happening with your cortisol during the day so that you are empowered with the information you need to make some really strategic decisions about your health plan and how to get rid of this unwanted weight very simply. So we've covered what your hormones look like before perimenopause. We've discussed what happens in perimenopause. And guess what? These hormones do not act alone. They are influenced by a couple of factors. We've already talked about cortisol or stress. Okay? And the thing is with stress is that not only does it spike your cortisol, which is now inappropriate and will be creating weight gain along with the estrogen dominance, is that cortisol also suppresses progesterone. Oh my goodness, what's happened? Progesterone is now even lower. And to boot, because cortisol has now been inappropriately raised for such a long time, thyroid hormones are now swimming along the bottom of acceptable. If this is your T3, it might have been up here, but then suddenly it starts to tank and everybody assumes they've got Hashimoto's thyroiditis or they're just suffering from an undiagnosed hypothyroidism. In nearly all cases, this has been made much, much worse by inappropriate levels of cortisol and specifically intermittent fasting. If we wanted to unpack this further, you have a series of neurons in your brain called the agouti neurons. And they actually, when you have not had enough food or you've been intermittent fasting for a significant period, they put you into cellular lockdown. It's called cellular defense response because they assume you're going into some kind of famine situation, which makes it pretty impossible to lose weight, to be honest. When you look at this, you've got temporary estrogen dominance, you've got inappropriate levels of cortisol, and your thyroid hormones are through the floor. This is the opposite of vibrant health. So what else can we do here? Well, this is actually reassuringly simple. The first thing, if we were to look at some action steps, is to get a Dutch test. This will show you where your hormone levels are. If somebody has told you that it's pointless testing for your hormones if you're in perimenopause because they're so varied, this is a fiction. We are seeing hundreds and hundreds of people in our clinic. We test all of them with the Dutch. We get amazing data with all of them, and it gives us immense clarity. If people say they don't know how to test your hormones, it's simply because they're not aware of a better way. This works. So the first thing is to have a Dutch test. The next thing is to have an interpretation with a really experienced practitioner. Who can interpret this? This is too complex to interpret by yourself. And so many people are spending a significant amount of money on testing and then trying to do this themselves. This strikes me as a super folly when you consider what is at play, because this is way more than about weight. It's about the vibrancy and the quality and the enjoyment of your life, not just for 5, 10 years over perimenopause, menopause. These are longevity hormones. They help prevent Alzheimer's. They help you with your lipids, your cholesterol expression. They help with bone density. They help with muscle mass. And they also help with your mitochondrial health. So really, getting these right is probably the most important thing you can do for your health journey right now. So please don't guess and don't try to invent the wheel yourself when there are experienced people out there who have done this countless times. So, Dutch test, experienced practitioner. Part 3 would be actually start bioidentical HRT. But the key part of this, and really I am begging you, please, you do not need a one-size-fits-all approach. There are over 347 hormonal patterns identified by the Dutch test. You probably, at first, maybe just need some progesterone, maybe a little bit of DHEA, maybe a little bit of testosterone if inflammation is not too high. You then need your handheld to understand how you can lower stress, and this is not just mental, emotional stress, and lower inflammation to appropriate levels. This can involve flipping macrophages, this is quite cool, from M2 to M1. Really simple to do. Put all of these things in order, drop the things that are working against you, like intermittent fasting, like excess exercise, especially excess cardio, and calorie restriction. Focus on some really beneficial things like sleep, how you're breathing throughout the day. And hey presto, this all starts to unlock. With some people, it's instant. From week one, once they have a protocol and a clear map from their Dutch test, this is just so easy. For others who have significantly suppressed their thyroid and need some adrenal support, it might take a little bit longer, maybe 2-3 months. But 2-3 months in the big scale of things is nothing. And in the face of potentially 20 years of calorific restriction, it's really nothing. So I'd really urge you to address this, to invest in yourselves, and to actually embrace the fact that there is a brand new, proven solution based on science and delivered with compassion to get rid of all of this. If you'd like to know more, then please don't hesitate to contact our clinic. We're here to help you.